Aloha, everybody! So today, we're going to try and crack the code on one of the most profitable, but let's be honest, one of the most complicated short-term rental markets on the entire planet, Hawaii. If you've ever had that dream of running a rental business in paradise, this is your boots-on-the-ground guide to the rules, the risks, and of course, the rewards for 2026. Let's get into it. So, first things first, why are we even talking about Hawaii? What's the big deal? Well, it all starts with this number. $21 billion. That's how much tourists spend there every single year, and that is the engine. This massive, non-stop flow of visitors is what makes Hawaii the holy grail for so many rental investors. Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big opportunity. Then we'll dive into the super important island-by-island rules. After that, we'll tackle the hefty tax bite, look at what it costs to start versus what you can make, point out the traps that could sink your business, and then wrap it all up with a final verdict.
All right, let's dive right in. The chance to make serious money here is absolutely real, but it comes with one massive catch that pretty much defines the entire Hawaiian market.
Okay, and this right here, this is probably the single most important thing you need to get. You're not investing in Hawaii. You're investing in Oahu, or Maui, or Kauai, or the Big Island. And they're like 4 different countries. Each one has its own government, its own rules, its own permits, and what's totally legal on one island could get you hit with insane fines on another.
So let's get into those specific rules. This is where the real work begins, because the differences between these islands are huge, and they're always changing. I love this slide because it basically gives each island its own personality, right? You've got Oahu, the super strict one. Maui, which is just pure chaos right now, the most volatile for sure. The Big Island, that's your in, currently the most accessible for new folks. And then Kauai, who's incredibly strict and has zero tolerance for mistakes. Let's break them down. Starting with Oahu, where Honolulu is, by late 2025, the game has been totally flipped on its head. Unless your property is sitting in a special resort zone like Waikiki, or you have one of those super rare old-school permits, you cannot legally rent it out for less than 90 days. Which, let's be honest, basically nukes the standard Airbnb business model for most of the island.
But here's the crazy part. For the lucky few who can legally operate on Oahu, the median annual revenue is a cool 62 grand. But why? Well, it's pure supply and demand. The number of legal rentals is so small that it creates this intense demand and super high occupancy for anyone who's playing by the rules.
Now let's hop over to Maui. This market is going through a massive earthquake, regulatorily speaking. A brand new law is getting rid of over 7,000 short-term rentals in apartment zones. This is a huge deal, and it creates a giant flashing red light of risk for any new investor looking at Maui right now.
And yet, would you look at that number? At nearly $94,000 a year, Maui has the highest potential revenue of all the islands. This is the perfect picture of extreme risk versus reward. The biggest possible prize comes with the biggest possible risk of having your business regulated out of existence. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the Big Island. This has always been the most chill county, but things are getting more official. Starting July 1st, 2026, everyone's going to have to register and pay a fee. It's still the easiest market to get into, but the smart play here is to get ahead of the curve. Get your ducks in a row before they start cracking down.
And finally, Kauai. The rule itself is pretty simple. You can only run an STR in these tiny areas called visitor destination areas. But the renewal policy is the real killer. I want you to really hear this. If you miss your annual permit renewal deadline, even by 1 day, it's not a slap on the wrist. It's not a fine. Your permit is gone. Forever. No second chances.
Okay, so let's say you've jumped through all those hoops, you've figured out the permits, now you've got to face the tax man, and in Hawaii, he's got a big appetite. We're talking one of the heaviest tax burdens in the entire country. And the thing is, you're not just paying one tax. It's a triple-decker sandwich of taxes. You've got the state's transient accommodations tax, that's the TAT. Then the county slaps on its own TAT surcharge. And on top of all that, you add the general excise tax. Put them all together, and it takes a major slice of your revenue.
So let's put some real numbers on this. For 2026, the state TAT hits you for 11%, the county TAT adds another 3%, and the GET is 4.5%. That all adds up to a whopping 18.5%. And remember, that's off the top of your gross rental income, before you pay for cleaning, insurance, or anything else.
All right, so we know what you can make and we know what you're going to pay in taxes. But what's it actually going to cost just to open the doors? We're going to focus on the rental arbitrage model here. That's where you lease a place long-term and then turn around and rent it out short-term.
And as you can see, this is not a shoestring budget operation. You've got your deposit, sure, but then there's furnishing, and remember, your guests are paying a premium. They're not expecting your spare bedroom furniture, they want that resort feel. Then you tack on permits, specialized insurance, and professional photos, which are absolutely not optional.
So, all said and done, you're looking at a realistic starting budget of anywhere from $15,000 to $35,000 for one unit. That's a hefty price tag, way higher than most places on the mainland, but it's the cost of admission to play in the big leagues and go after that top-tier revenue.
Okay, this next part is crucial. Let's talk about the landmines, the mistakes that can literally wipe out your entire business and that whole investment in a heartbeat. These are the game-ending errors.
You have to know that counties are actively hunting for illegal listings, and we're talking fines of up to $10,000 a day. We already talked about what happens if you miss a deadline on Kauai. Another classic rookie mistake is only registering for one tax. You have to get registered for both the TAT and the GET. And never ever assume that just because Airbnb says you're good to go that you're actually legally compliant. The buck stops with you.
And this quote right here from our source material just nails it. Trying to save a few bucks by not talking to a local lawyer who actually knows this stuff, well, it's a catastrophic mistake. The cost of getting it right from the start is nothing compared to the cost of getting it wrong.
So after all that, the crazy rules, the high taxes, the big startup costs, what's the bottom line? Is starting an Airbnb in Hawaii actually worth it?
This chart really tells the story. When you line up Hawaii's nearly 18.5% tax burden against other big tourist states like Florida and California, you can see you're starting the race with a pretty significant financial headwind from day one. It is a high-cost, high-stakes game.
But here's the paradox, and this is what I want to leave you with. The very same rules that make it so tough are also weeding out the competition. Every illegal rental that gets shut down, every permit that gets phased out, that shrinks the total supply. So for the operators who are disciplined, who do their homework, who are fully compliant, it means less competition and the power to charge higher prices. The real question is, after seeing all the complexity and the cost, are you prepared to do the hard work required to be one of them?